I
It just
hate it,
has
but
to be
it's
done. It has to be done a different way. Like each time, we should just. I don't know. I'm just gonna screw around. Matthew, thank you for joining us today. How
Thank
are
you for having
you?
me. I'm
We're
doing
we're
very well. How are you guys doing?
we're doing good. We're
doing
doing
good.
better now that we got you on board. Just to kind of give a little bit of backstory, we had a little bit of a technical issue, and now we worked it all out. And now you're, I'm assuming, in your lavish kitchen area. Is that your kitchenette? Is that something that you?
I'm currently at my neighbor's house. I don't have a PC or a iPhone, so my neighbor helped me out, and his wife is a kindergarten teacher. You can see the beautiful drawings behind me here.
I love it. You have the best backdrop we've seen so far. I mean, really, that really just everything ties your personality together. The pink kitchenette.
I've got all the crayons and drawings and little kids' kitchen here, so
Well,
at
well,
home.
well. Let's kind of get into it. Corey and I have always been discussing with our interviewees as well as ourselves. How we've been dealing with this quarantine. This worldwide pandemic. What have you been up to lately? Obviously, you've been out of your friend Justin's kitchenette area. What have you been doing for the past couple of months?
Pretty much as the COVID virus started happening worldwide, I broke my collarbone. So I was just chilling at home, really, just playing on my PS4, just messing around, just cleaning up the house, working in the garden a little bit, and then yeah, about 2 weeks after the surgery, kind of towards the end of March thing, I started, venturing outside and started working out and going and playing golf slightly. But things haven't really changed too much for me. I live kind of a simple life. I'm either at home training, going to gym, playing golf, riding, or just going to the Westby shop and hanging out there with Chuck and the boys. So I don't really go too much out into public, so it hasn't really changed too much for me. But I'm just really thankful that everything started to get sorted out with this virus thing, and the country's kind of opening it back up, and we're starting to get back to our normal lives.
Now, have you been in touch with your family? Is your family here in the United States, or are they back in Africa?
No, they're actually back in South Africa. They've had a very serious lockdown there for the first 4 or 5 weeks of it. They weren't even allowed leaving their house. They were kind of treated like criminals there. They weren't even allowed going to the garage or just leaving their house to go to the beach, kind of thing. So it's been very crazy for them. Unfortunately, Kiara, my fiance, went home just before the barber test to go and sort out the wedding that we're planning on having next year, January, and this whole COVID virus thing happened, and she kind of got stuck back there. So it's been a really tough time dealing with everything by myself, and just being alone and dealing with the broken collarbone. But everyone seems relatively healthy and safe, so I'm very thankful for that. But just hopefully, they can open up traveling soon, and I'll be able to see her. And I know that a lot of people are suffering during this time. So hopefully, we can just get back to normal soon.
I'm in the New York, New Jersey area, and a heavy police presence going to certain areas. But you talked about your family being locked down. What was that like for them? Because again, here in the United States, we deal with things differently. In Africa, I mean, was it a military presence? To have them reinforced to stay in and be quarantined. What was that like?
I know that in certain areas they did have a military presence, but I guess in the suburban area it was just more police everywhere, kind of making sure that no one was leaving their house. I mean, I know that my mom hasn't left the house in 6 7 weeks, kind of thing.
Whoa.
My dad had to get a special permit to actually go to his work and so on. There's been videos of people that have tried going on to the beach and actually getting locked up and sent to jail. I think it was about last week. They just recently opened up that you're allowed to leave the house between 6 a.m. and 9 to just do exercise and stuff. But otherwise, besides that, you're not allowed leaving your house. So it's quite a serious lockdown there. I know that Georgia has been pretty lenient as far as that goes, but I do see that a few other states it's been pretty serious.
Well, I could see, Georgia has been a little bit lenient. It seems like your hair is nice. It seems like you went to the barber shop. I think they're allowing salons down there where
Was
here
looking
you
good.
can't get a
I was
haircut.
looking good. I was looking good for you, Brian.
See, I appreciate that. I
Don't
appreciate
do
that
that.
effort. But let's go something came out on the radar here in this conversation that you're engaged. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I
no
think
kidding.
last time we
Thank
spoke, you were dating, like technically
Yes.
single. Now you're off the radar now. When did you pop the question?
Last year after the season, towards the end, I think I might get in trouble. I don't know the exact date. But,
It's okay. We could lip sync and we could fill in the information at times. Don't worry about it. That's all good.
but yeah, me and Kira have been dating for about 5 years now, and she's been the most wonderful human ever. She actually came here with me back in 2016 to chase my dream, and she actually gave up working back home and stuff. So, I kind of decided that it was a time, and she's been awesome, and I couldn't picture my life with anyone else.
Oh, I love that. Young
Not to
love.
get
Young
soppy,
love.
guys.
No, it's
No,
great.
no, it's good. I like that. Now, Corey brought up something prior to this interview, and I thought this was rather interesting. You're here. You're a South African resident, but you're here on a work visa. How has it been for the past year or 2 years? Has it been difficult to get that work visa in order to race here in the United States? Or, I mean, tell us about the process.
Yeah.
For me, it hasn't really been too difficult, to be honest. I got a P1 visa, which is a sportsman visa, so I can just come and go freely. But unfortunately, Kiara is on a B1, which is the tourist visa, so she can only spend six months out of the year here. So we've been trying to kind of plan it that she only comes during the 6 months of the racing season. But we unfortunately spend quite a lot of time separated, due to visas and other problems. But about a month or two back, I got the green card process application done. So we're just kind of waiting for that to happen. But with the whole COVID deal going on, I know that it's put a damper on that. So kind of just waiting to see whenever things get back to normal.
Yeah, and it seems like things are progressing. Obviously, Moto America's going forward with their Road America round. How psyched are you to get the season started?
Brian, to be honest, I couldn't be more thankful that the Moto America guys managed to get something going. Obviously, as a motorcycle racer, leaving home and coming to this country, racing is the only way that you can make money and stuff like that. And that's what my whole life was actually based, on. So I felt, lost that we didn't have specific dates when we were going racing, and Road America has been a little bit difficult to me though the last couple of years, but I'm just really thankful to be hopping back on the bike. We did a test on Monday, Tuesday at Little Tully, and things looked really positive. It was actually the first time for me on the 2020 bike because I missed the barber pre-season test because of my collarbone. So it was a really positive test for us, and I cannot wait to get back on the superbike and race with the rest of the superbike field.
Now, you had Josh Hayes fill in for you. Is that correct? Josh rode your bike and tested it down at Barber?
Yes, Josh has actually hopped on the Westby superbike quite a few times. I think at the end of 2018, he did 1 or 2 days afterwards for us just to kind of give his expert insight on how the bike worked. And unfortunately, he was at the barber test, so he kind of just filled in and just kind of was the guinea pig, really, and making sure that the bike ran well. So hats off to Josh. He's an awesome guy, obviously winning numerous national titles. It was really awesome that he was able to kind of give his opinion on the bike and help with the setup of the 2020 spec R1 Yamaha.
Now, did you call him actually the guinea pig? Did you tell him, like, listen, don't get too
I wouldn't
comfortable.
say that.
This is
No,
my
I wouldn't say
ride.
that to his
You're
face.
testing. You're the guinea pig. This is my bike. Did you have that conversation? Don't get too comfortable?
Our team jokes around that he has mentioned numerous times that if I do get hurt, he's the first one there. So I know Josh is very very keen to get back on a full spec superbike, but hopefully I'll be injury free for the rest of the season. But
Now,
just one more time, thanks to Josh for helping us out.
now, I just to get right into it, Corey, I used to think, and again, when his team was prevalent, the Road Racing Factory team with Danny Walker, those guys to me were the most lovable team in the paddock. They were family. No, I mean that. I mean these guys
Awesome
took
guys.
me in. I was a lost soul, and they took me in and made me feel warm and welcome. But talking about your team, the Westby team with Trig and the history with Dane and Chuck, I mean to me that is the most family-oriented, fun-loving, energetic. I mean I can only say good things about your team. Tell me why the Westby team to you has been home for the past couple of years. What does the Westby team mean to you?
Firstly, thank you. The Westby guys, like you said, we're just family. It started off being colleagues, and then we turned to friends, and then now we family. This has been a journey for us all. I first started riding for them at the end of 2016, and they kind of took me in. And we only a single rider team, and I've been their guy. Obviously Chuck and Trig run the program. Trig does this because he wants to honor his son Dane who passed, and it's all just for the love of motorcycle racing. And I think everyone gets on very very well. Behind the scenes, this isn't a job. This is something that we want to do and something that we love doing. And racing is our livelihood, and also we look forward to really.
Now you're working again with what, Ed Sullivan, Danny Anderson, Dustin, right? You guys got the same crew still from last year?
Same crew going, yeah. Ed is the crew chief. Herschel's doing the data. Danny Anderson and Dustin Meda work on the bike, as well as Frank Shockley. We've got Chuck managing the team, and then obviously Trig Westby, who's the main man behind the whole Westby team. Just brilliant bunch of humans who all come together for a common goal of loving motorcycle racing. And I think 2019 wasn't the best season for us. If you look back to how 2017 went, winning the Super Stock 1000 Championship, and 2018 putting a not full superbike spec bike on the podium numerous times and actually winning. So. I know last year was a difficult season for us. We learned lots, but I think 2020 should be a really positive year for us.
Before we get too far away from Josh, we mentioned him a little bit. Yeah, I know he's not necessarily your rider coach, but that's one common theme that we've been hearing about so far in our conversations with folks is the use of a rider's coach. Do you have somebody that you use as a rider coach?
Unfortunately now I don't have somebody that's working for me as a rider coach, but growing up, I rode in the Red Bull Rookies Cup Championship. They did have a rider coach there. When I went to the Spanish Championship in Moto 2, we had a rider coach there. So I mean, I've had quite a few coaches growing up, which really helped me, develop my riding style, how I come into the weekend mentally and physically. So I mean, I'm 27 now, so I kind of feel that I know what I need to do, but depending on how things go, I think I will always I should start looking at someone that can maybe look at things from the outside. Especially someone like a Josh Hayes, who has so much wealth of superbike and knowledge.
Now, let me ask you this. Your crew chief, Ed Sullivan, is he from Africa too?
England.
English. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize. I
We're the
thought
team
the dialect,
of
I thought it was close.
funny speaking people, yeah.
Well, no, my thing is almost in the racing paddock. People jump ship. People go from different platforms to platform. You've stayed with the Westby team, so obviously things are working. The trust levels there, and that's why you've got a good crew in back here. So that's all. I just wanted to I wanted to talk about that magic, and it seems that this year you guys, and I asked this with Cody. You guys changed things up a little bit. I think you got attack performance in your backing. Talk about that level of trust with your team.
We did make one or two sponsor changes this year. It's difficult for me as a rider to know exactly what we changed. I just mainly stick to the riding part of it, but I know that with the change of teams and riders and so on, changes had to be made for us. But I think that the bike is the best that it ever has been. So I'm just really looking forward to getting back on and finally racing.
Now you've got a pretty diverse background. I mean, racing overseas. A lot of Americans look to start off in the United States and go over to Europe and Asia and ride. Obviously, you were over in Africa. You rode in the Spanish CEV class, and I think you were also World Super Sport, if correct.
Yeah.
What was the attraction to coming over to the United States for Moto America?
To be honest, I was actually riding for Ricky Moraes' team back home. Sorry, guys, me too much. And his son Sheridan. His son Sheridan was actually racing for one of the teams here, and unfortunately Sheridan had a pretty solid crash and bumped his head and was unfortunately not able to compete further. So they kind of asked me if they wanted me to fill in, and I did pretty well. And Joshua Day was riding for the Westby team, and he got hurt at the first round that I was here. So the other team that I was riding for, they only gave me a two race deal. So I kind of got here and I started looking around the paddock and spoke to the Westby guys, and Ed actually started watching me, and he kind of mentioned that they would be interested in me finishing out the season for them. And I think I finished out the last 3 or 4 rounds of 2016, and things went very, very well. And then, they offered me a contract for 2017 in the Super Stock 1000 Championship, and we actually ended up winning that. And, it's just been a dream team since then, really.
I remember just like yesterday that Road America round too, and I think Corey, you can recall Josh's accident and
kind
of
Road Atlanta.
Was it Road Atlanta?
No.
Road America.
No, both of them.
That's right. Because I think at Road America, that's when he came back, and it was like the concussion on top of a concussion.
Oh, it was massive.
It was that that everybody thought about it. Is like, how do you bounce back? Do you put your life on the line to keep on racing, or do you retire? To obviously for your health, and having you come in, I think we were just kind of like, whoa. Who is this guy? And then doing the research, we're like, oh, he's not a newcomer. He's been on a bike before, and so it's interesting how things worked out. But obviously, that's helped you out in your career. And again, you've been with Westby since, so obviously things are working. And with your recent test at Talladega, how do you keep that good positive momentum going into keeping that energy going to get to Road America? Because Road America is right around the corner. So how do you keeping that excitement and momentum going for you?
Just coming back to the whole Joshua Day thing. Unfortunately, you can break arms, legs, whatever, and they heal up fine, and you'll be back a couple of weeks afterwards, and as if nothing happened to you. But when it comes to your brain and everything else, it's just unfortunately long-term severe problems do actually come from it. So sometimes you have to call it and look at the life that you could be leading afterwards. So it's just hopefully motorcycle racing can just keep on making these sports as safe as they possibly can, I know that the Moto America Championship really focus on sending us to tracks that are as safe as they possibly can be. They've got lots of runoff and stuff, so just as long as we keeping the sport as safe as we can, we can prolong motorcycle racers' careers. But after Tally, all of us left there with a really good vibe, heading into the first race. And like you said, it's pretty easy keeping the happy spirits up, knowing that we're finally going back to actually race. So we've been waiting since March really to actually finally get back to things. So I think everyone's counting the hours down and just wanting to hop in the truck Wednesday and actually drive up to Wisconsin. And we've been waiting since Barber race 2 last year.
My question, Matt, then was, you talked about you had your collarbone, because when I saw you at the barber test, I think it was just fresh. I mean, it had just happened.
Yeah.
So normally, during the season, you don't have a lot of time to rehab and repair. So what kind of things have you been doing to take advantage of this time? Do you feel that your fitness is right back where it needs to be? Are you able to train just as much? I know you're obviously not riding the motorcycle, but are you doing other things than golfing or working out, physical fitness, riding bicycles? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, when I first broke my collarbone, I was really worried about getting back to training because it felt like I couldn't even lift it up properly, and it was really a massive worrying factor for me. But after I had surgery done and they kind of put the plate and the pins in, 2 weeks afterwards, I was doing push-ups and training and running around and stuff. So it was quite a easy healing process for me. There wasn't too much difficulty. I think as far as a motorcycle racer goes, collarbone's one of the more simple breaks. It heals quickly. So right after the surgery, I gave myself a couple of days just to chill out. But I kind of got back into training 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, and probably about 4 weeks after the surgery, beginning of April, I was back on the motocross bike riding. I've been running, swimming, messing around with the neighborhood kids, teaching them how to ride my TTR. So nothing's really changed for me. I just have a really cool scar now, but that's about it.
Nice. See, that's a sign of good living. You got to have a couple scars. You can't just go to the grave with clean. You got to have a couple battle wounds. But my question to you is, recovering from an injury, as a professional rider, how do you go about it? Is it with medicine, or do you take natural supplements, or you just? I mean, I've heard people kind of go to, was it the oxygen chambers, the hyperbaric chambers? I think that's what it's.
Hyperbaric chambers. Yeah.
What do you? Listen, I can't talk well.
Hey, Corey's just making fun of
I know.
you.
Listen, and that's what it's all about. I haven't had the coffee kick in. I can speak well at times, but not all the time. But what is it? I mean, what's the rehab process for you? I mean, how do you go about things?
Well, fortunately for me, touch wood, I haven't had too many serious breaks. I did use the hyperbaric chamber back in 2010 when I nearly lost my foot in a Red Bull Rookies Cup accident, and I honestly believe that was one of the major reasons for me keeping my foot. But after the collarbone break, it was pretty simple. I just started stretching a lot and making sure that I had the full range of motion back. And you kind of just start off training, slowly and just kind of working your way back into things. You kind of don't want to force it, but I think everyone else has their own techniques of things. So, I think it all just depends on how serious the break is and what you broke and what your training methods are.
Now, you mentioned Red Bull Rookies Cup. Was that a moment in your career starting off where you just kind of, your eyes were just exposed to different things and you thought, I don't know, maybe, hey, this is going to be my path. This is going to be my path for the rest of my life. What was that moment where you just looked and said, this is what I want to do, and this is how, what I need to keep on doing? What was that moment? Was it a race, or was it a conversation that, kind of just flipped the switch and said, this is going to be my career. This is what I need to do in my life?
Pretty much what you're talking about right now is what me and my dad spoke about last week, just on a recent call about how things changed back then, 2007, towards the end of the year, qualifying for the Red Bull Rookies Cup. And that kind of changed everything for me, from it just being fun to, whoa, I can actually make a career out of motorcycle racing, and my dad said that from that day, qualifying for it changed our lives forever, and I couldn't be more thankful. Motorcycle racing has given me so much, and previously to that, I always took racing seriously, but I didn't think that I could make money from it, or that my life would be, revolved around racing. I was a kid that was in high school. I liked playing soccer, cricket, rugby, different sports to the US here. But yeah, like I said, qualifying for the Rookies Cup just changed everything, and that was at that point I thought, this is all I want. All I care about is motorcycle racing. So, from then, it's just been a brilliant journey of meeting different people, and this is all I care about is riding bikes. Whether you're getting paid or not, just to be racing and competing at the highest level possible.
What position were you in rugby?
Scrum half.
Nice.
I was a smaller human, so I couldn't be out there running or tackling guys. So I was
gonna say you're a little too tall to be something else. But okay, so you must have had a growth spurt. But all right, so
that was when I was about 13. Hey, I stopped rugby then because everyone got huge and I was a relatively skinny, smaller guy. So yeah. Soccer was more my thing. My dad still played soccer until he was 58, 60. So wow. Soccer ran into the family. I think he would have liked me to be a professional soccer player. That things turned out differently.
Yeah. So, but what were you doing in terms of racing before you got to Rookies Cup? I mean, that was really the question. So, had you done club races, just some track days? Because, working with Gagne, he didn't even see a road bike until he got on the Rookies Cup. He was, he was a motocross kid, and he's like, I don't know how to ride this thing. He was going into corners with his foot out, So what were you doing before Rookies Cup?
I actually started racing in the Motocross National Championship back home at 7. Then I moved to Motard racing when I was about 11, 12. And then I hopped on a CBR 150 when I was maybe 13 and did 1 year on that. And then moved to the 125 GP bikes, which is now the Moto 3 class. But back then it was a 125 GP two-stroke bike. And I did 1 year on that back home, so I did have a little bit of road racing knowledge before going to the Red Bull Rookies Cup. But I think that the European Rookies Cup was more based on foster kids that had been racing previously, whereas the US Rookies Cup seemed to be something like what happened to Gagne, where they knew that he was a really talented motorcycle rider, whether it be motocross or road racing, whatever, and gave him the opportunity. And look how it's turned out. He's won SuperBike races and championships. So, I think that the Rookies Cup program did their job properly.
It seems like you had access, or maybe not that much access to be out on a motorcycle. I know growing up in my area, it was frowned upon to be on a PW50 or just a dirt bike in general, because it was just shunned, because you can't go out in the forest or certain state parks and ride. We're out in California where Corey is, motorcycles are embraced. How was it getting access and riding at a young age and competing in South Africa? Was it a process? Was it a difficult process? Did you have to go travel far to go to a track, a dirt track or a road track? What was that journey?
There was actually a local motocross track pretty close to me, but I didn't ever think that I would be riding there. It was just something that we drove past on the way to school. Didn't think too much of it. And when I was about 6 or 7, I went to a friend's house, and he had a Pee-wee 50. He lived next to a local park. And we kind of just took it out, rode it there, and I loved it so much. I kind of asked my dad to get me one. And whenever he played soccer on Sundays, he had his afternoon matches there. Myself and my brother would just ride around on the fields. Nothing serious. We were just kids messing around, wearing jeans and some gumboots. And then just one day we kind of thought, hey, let's go down to the local motocross track. Went there a couple of times, and I actually started riding pretty quickly. And somebody mentioned, hey, we've got a novice race coming up next weekend. You should try to enter it. Entered it, and I actually ended up winning all 3 heats, and kind of never looked back since. Fortunately for me back home, racing is, I wouldn't say a pretty big sport, but motorbikes are definitely part of the culture back home.
Now, do you think here in the United States, as an outsider looking in, that the youth growing up, they have access to certain things to be groomed and to start at an early age to focus on a career in road racing or just racing motorcycles in general?
Definitely think that it is easier for the kids here. There's a lot more exposure to motorcycle racing. There's a lot more tracks. There's a lot more circuits to go to. I just think that the presence of motorbikes and the TV presence of it is definitely bigger here, so it kind of pumps up the youth to actually try it more. Whereas back home, I think sports are mainly focused on soccer, rugby, and so on, but the motorcycle community here is very, very big. So it's really cool to see kids get the opportunity to ride every single weekend somewhere.
Because that's my thing is growing up. It really was. It was something that you had to travel. If you had to go to a road racing track, you'd most likely have to go out of state. You would have to, for a dirt track, you'd have to travel several hours. Where nowadays it's like anywhere you turn, and I make this equation to like almost like skateboarding. You can go to a skate park, any town that you can just visit here in the United States. There's skate parks. There's all these facilities, and that's what I feel like. Nowadays there's such an abundant amount of dirt tracks and road racing tracks and facilities to practice on, karting tracks, that it's an easy access. And with the Junior Cup, with back in the day the Red Bull Rookies Cup, it's just not, it's a smoother transition now to get a career in this and to get your kids trained at an early age and get involved in this sport. It's just like you mentioned, just TV exposure. Right now I feel like we just need a little bit more TV exposure. More cross branding. I think Moto America is doing a good job with getting the races out there and content out there, but I think it needs a little bit more.
And so on,
I just think we need a little bit more cross branding, cross marketing, get it out to a bigger broadband. But without touching too many topics, because again we are kind here to when it comes to questions with sponsors and certain things like that. What has been your rapport working, actually, if anything, riding a Yamaha? Has Yamaha been a big influence with shaping your career?
To be honest, when I was growing up, I rode a whole bunch of different manufacturers. But since hopping onto a SuperBike, I've only ridden the Yamaha R1 since 2016. So I've only ridden these Yamaha SuperBike, but Yamaha have been very, very great to me and the Westby team. They've given me motocross bikes the last couple of years to help me train and so on. I'm not personally employed by the Yamaha brand. I'm actually employed by Westby, but I know that Yamaha helped them out substantially, so a real big thank you to them.
Now, to on that note, because I want to know the flip side of this. What is the one time you were on a motorcycle and you just thought, I need to get off this thing? This thing is the worst I've ridden. What was that experience? Have you had that experience where you're on a motorcycle, you're just like, no way, we're just not gelling?
There's always times when you hop on the bike and it just seems like nothing goes the way that you would like it to. Like you almost spinning up in every single corner. You're pushing the front. You're on the absolute edge, and your lap times are slow. But that's just been more of a mental thing for me. I've never really tried to blame the bike. Because I always think of it as, if you put Marquez on this bike, would he be quicker? And the answer is always yes. So you can't look at the bike. But there are times when you kind of like, if I had that bike, I would be quicker. If I had this, I would be quicker. But I kind of started looking, internally more than looking at the bike.
Yeah, see, I would always, I'm in the, at my age, I blame others. I just be like, oh, it's that person or it's that bike. Yeah, no, it's not me. It's you. So that's why I was kind of curious if starting off in your career, you had a bike that you had to ride and just kind of grin and bear it.
2010, I rode the 125 GP bike in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, which was a KTM. I rode in the German Championship on a Aprilia, and I rode in the Spanish Championship on a Honda. And the Spanish Championship, I struggled a lot because the Honda just seemed like the biggest piece of... Yeah, and I just always thought, what? If I had this bike, I would be better. But, you look at the other guys riding the Honda too, and they were faster than me, so you kind of have to look at yourself sometimes. But as a younger rider, you kind of do sometimes look at the bike. But now that I've gotten older, you kind of start realizing that it's mainly the guy sitting on the bike.
Now, it's something that you mentioned you're older and you're 27, and I chuckle at that because you seem very mature for your age. I'm 44 and I'm still immature, and I'm not going to talk about Corey, but my thing is you've traveled quite a lot, through your career. Do you think kind of traveling and seeing the world has grounded you, made you more cultured, made you more mature? I mean, talk about your experiences in traveling with your career.
Back home, I lived quite a sheltered life. I was very fortunate that I had parents that had, money growing up, and I was able to kind of do the things that I wanted to do. But then traveling really opened my eyes. I started traveling the world at 15, and you kind of see how bad things are and how certain people live, and it really opened my eyes to just how fortunate I was, But like I was saying, myself and my dad constantly chuckle about just how difficult things were, but we would never change it. How sometimes we would be flying from, Germany to like Spain or to, Russia somewhere, and we couldn't read the languages, and we would go to the supermarket and buy yogurt and buy cereal, and we would go back to the hotel and we wouldn't have knives or forks, so we would just chuck some cereal in, chuck some, yogurt in, and just chow it down. But, I think that's all the things that actually make you who you are. And I wouldn't change it for the absolute world. My dad and me have spent so much time traveling, and I think that's why we have such a great relationship.
Now, you've got two brothers. Am I correct by saying so? Two brothers?
One brother.
One brother.
One
okay.
year younger than me.
Now, did the family go out and about when you were racing, or is it just you and Dad?
We stayed home most of the time. Sometimes I would travel with my mom, sometimes with my dad, sometimes by myself. Just depended on who was working what, how my brother's schooling was going, where I was racing at that time. It was kind of, we never had set plans of what to do. It was more just, let's just, wing it and kind of do what we think's best, and everything worked out fine. surprisingly.
Yeah, no, everything worked out good, and I love your parents. I got to say, if anything, I would love to see if they want to adopt a 44-year-old man, because I think your mom and dad are awesome. Now
Thank you.
now my thing that comes to mind is that, your family was very, very supportive in time, if and when you pick and choose to have children, and your children go, "Hey, Dad, I want to follow your footsteps." What are your thoughts behind that?
There's been times that, I'm lying in a hospital bed, and I thought, like, why am I doing this? I could be with my friends having a party, chilling, but I'm in the hospital here with drips hanging out of me. What's this deal? You know what I mean? But as soon as you're out of the hospital, you just think of the next time that you can actually ride your bike, and like I was saying earlier on, motorcycle racing has given me so much as a human being, and I wouldn't change it, So one day, if I do have a kid and he wants to race or she wants to race, I'll let them do what they want. They can kind of make their own choices. My parents never forced me to do anything. They kind of said, you have to kind of figure things out yourself. Obviously, they would kind of push you towards doing the right thing, but I think that you have to kind of sometimes fail to actually figure out what you want.
Yeah. Now, I mean, and on that note, if I'm just assuming, if you weren't on a motorcycle, you'd be doing some male modeling. What other career?
Jesus.
No, hey, listen. Let's just listen. I'm sorry. To me, he's my version of James Bond. He's got the voice, he's got the look, he's got the demeanor. I mean, what would you be doing if you weren't racing a motorcycle?
I think, unfortunately, I'd be working a 8 to 5 job somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never really been one to follow the social, norm. So I think I'd be doing something somewhere that would be crazy, but you never know. Life has different plans, and who knows where it would possibly take me.
Yeah, well, I got a quick question on that one. As long as we're kind of rolling on what we're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, do you have kind of like a creative outlet or something like that you do? Do you paint? Do you draw? Do you play music, or do you have something?
My artistic skills are terrible. I think these drawings behind me would be better than something I would create. I love listening to different kinds of music, whether it's rap, indie rock, this or that. But I like singing, but it is just for the shower. Sometimes my girlfriend laughs. She's like, "That is the worst thing I've ever heard. Please don't quit your day job." But
I was gonna say, so you're literally trying to get by on your good looks and talent.
That's it. That's all I've got. Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I'm a fairly sporty person, and but the artistic side of me is just not there.
So let me cut to the chase. Are you planning on getting married here in the U.S. and settling down here in the U.S., or are you still thinking about family life back in Africa?
No, my life's moved me here to Georgia. I never ever thought that I would end up here. I thought if I ever came to this country, I'd be moving to California. Because I love the beach, the warm weather. But just with how things have turned out, it ended up in Georgia. I actually managed to get my own property here. So me and my fiance are actually working on moving everything here. That's why I've got the green card process coming through. I think that we're going to definitely have the wedding back home, because that's where family and friends are. But my life has definitely moved to this country, and I couldn't be more thankful. As a foreigner coming in, this is the land of opportunity, and it really has given me the life that I've been dreaming of since I qualified for the Rookies Cup back in 2007.
Now, has obviously this pandemic, has it put a hold on or a damper on your future plans? Again, planning the wedding, just everything in general, has it just kind of shifted your mindset?
Point, I'm just kind of focusing on the upcoming races. But with the green card application, I was on this like fast track system where it was supposed to be quicker, but now they've cancelled it because of the whole COVID deal. So that's kind of screwed things up, there. But it is what it is. Nobody saw this problem coming, and I think that there's bigger problems, in the world right now. And also, Kiara went home to go and actually plan the wedding, which was only meant to be 2 or 3 week deal, and she was meant to come back here. But with the whole lockdown because of COVID, she's now stuck back there, and we're not sure when she'll actually be able to fly back here.
Now, I got to say this, going to your demeanor, the way you handle yourself. This is my opinion. Could be totally different, but I might be speaking for a lot of people. But you're a likable, lovable, fun-loving guy. When
Sometimes.
the visor goes down. Somebody, we just had a recent interview where, even when the visor goes down, Ben Bosher mentioned, he looks around and, he still sees on the line his friends. He doesn't see them as enemies or anything. What's your mentality going into a race? Do you have that mentality of we're all in this for fun? Yes, we're competitive. We all want to get first place, but I don't have animosity towards the guy lining up next to me. What's your mentality when the visor goes down and you're on the grid?
Honestly speaking, you.
I want you to be honest and
friends.
then lie to us. Well, give me 2 takes.
You are definitely closer friends with some of the other superbike riders than you are with the other ones, and when you're actually riding, whether you like it or not, you do say like, hey, that's one of my better friends, but not that if they weren't your like good friend, you would, try to push them out wide or something. But it's always in the back of your head, like, oh, I'm coming up against Gagne, but you don't really think about that too much. You just kind of think, oh no, he's just another guy there. I try not to focus on the other riders that I'm busy riding with. I mainly just try to focus on hitting my marks, brake marker, tipping point, throttle point, pickup point, and it's just. I never try to be too aggressive, but sometimes when it comes to racing and stuff, you kind of have to put a harsh move in. But it's nothing. It is nothing personal. It's our job, and I think that everyone understands that motorcycle racing sometimes can be a contact sport.
Yeah, it's gotten more physical throughout the years, but on Sundays the beauty about it is everybody tears down. Riders aren't opposed to breaking down the canopies and whatnot. Is there any rider that's out there that you just grab a beer with on Sunday and just shoot the shit? Is there somebody that you kind of just instantly gravitate and gel with?
Myself and Cameron Peterson, obviously coming from the same country, we've been racing together from when we were little kids, and obviously going through the Rookies Cup, I met quite a few of the US riders, from Gagne to Gillum to Solis to Bobier to lots of them, and I like to think that I'm pretty good friends with most of the riders in the paddock, and I try to be as friendly as I possibly can. I don't have any animosity towards anyone. But obviously, you've got friends that are better than other friends. Myself and Cameron Peterson like to have a beer afterwards and just talk about the weekends racing and stuff. And when I go out to California, I hang out with Gagne, Josh Hayes, Peterson, and everyone else. And I think that the motorcycle community is relatively small as far as the pro riders go. So we're all pretty friendly and hang out. I've been to California, Kentucky, hang out with most of the guys.
Pulled us back into the whole Westby thing. Trigg, to me, he's a lovable guy. I met him years ago, obviously through Dane. Has Trigg brought you into his shop and showed you his collection? Did you get any kind of special rides and any? I mean, I know I think he's got a GT40. He's got a car that just.
Yeah.
He's got a couple cars that are amazing, and then he's got his motorcycle collection. Is there anything that you've got to see in his collection that you're just like, oh, I need to ride that, and have you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Trig's house a few times. You know, he's like a father figure to me. He's really look after me well, and he treats me like his son. And I think of him as my second father. We always joke that he's my American dad. But, you know, I mean, when I go to his house, he always shows me his collection of cars and stuff. I don't drive them because those are his prized toys and stuff. But, you know, he used to bring his bike with the sidecar to the races and stuff, and he used to drive me around with that. And that Trig's just the most awesome human. You know, he just loves motorcycle racing. He doesn't do it because he wants to be better than someone else. He does it because he just genuinely loves it, you know, and that is something that is very, very special. You know, he's an awesome guy, and I really thank him from the bottom of my heart.
That was the most beautiful thing I've heard about Trig. And again, he's a genuinely nice guy. I mean, I've introduced my family to him, and they've hit it off. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Now, you know, talking about collection, I was young and dumb once, still dumb but old. Yeah, once, maybe twice.
Not younger, but still dumb.
still working with one brain cell or one side of the lobe. But my thing is, you know, I didn't really save money. I would buy things, motorcycles, cars, and whatever. Do you, obviously, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Do you have a collection? Do you have toys? Or are you that smart, intelligent young man that's just been saving? You know, again, key thing is your fiance is probably going to watch this and wonder if you're saving money for the wedding. But, you know, is there any particular things that you cherish, toys, a motorcycle, car that you have here in the United States or back home in Africa?
To be honest, no. I've been trying to save, but it seems like it's very, very difficult. No, obviously, I just spent a huge sum of money with the house and stuff like that. But you know, I'm just a really simple guy. You know, I got the motocross bike. I love that. I probably ride it 2-3 times every single week. I got my set of golf clubs, and that's it, you know, and my PS4, and that's it. You know, I'm not a huge collector of things. I don't drive a fancy car. I've got a Nissan Frontier 2-wheel drive, cost me $8,000, and you know, that's it. You know, I just love leading the simple life, riding my bike, hanging with friends, and just leading a nice ordinary life.
So we have the gentleman racer. I mean, he golfs. He's invested in real estate. He saves his money. I mean,
plays video games.
Now, all right, because here's my thing is we were interviewed Cody yesterday, and your teammate Cody is big into iRacing, motorsports.
Yeah.
We've bashed bars virtually through MotoGP games, and he's whooped my ass bad to the point where I've thrown my controller. What is your guilty pleasure when it comes to playing anything that's on a console or game console?
First-person shooter games. That's it for me. I tried the MotoGP because I know that Bobier and Heron are really big into that. But I just kept on crashing so much, and like you said, I nearly broke it. So I mean, I was just over it and just shut it down. But yeah, first-person shooter games are my thing. I've been playing Call of Duty recently, but when I broke my collarbone, I think that's what actually kept me sane, was just playing on my PS4. And you know, fortunately for me, you know, I'm able to actually play with my friends back home. You know, so it kind of helps me not to feel homesick and just speak with my friends and my brother. You know. We might be playing the game, but we talking shit about you know, partying and you know, memories and everything else, and how's the girlfriend, how's the fiance, how's things going, you know what I mean? So it's just mainly hanging out with the boys and having a good time.
Do you think motorsports or iRacing or anything that has to do with a virtual motorsports topic behind it or content behind it. Do you think that's the future? Do you think that's the way to go to keep the sport going on and branching on and extending?
To be honest, I haven't really followed it too much, but I know that NASCAR and Formula One and so on have been doing these virtual races, and obviously during times like these, it's something that's really, really cool and positive that kind of keeps people, interested in the sport and kind of takes their mind off of the harsh realities that we're facing now. But I don't think anything would be the same as actually being at the track, hearing it and smelling it, and just being there, physically.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, I know my thing is with you, and I don't know how comfortable you are. Do you want to play MotoGP sometime soon? Because it sounds like we might be on the same page, and I might be able to kind of win a race, or if anything, come in second. Do you want to give out your handle? I know Call of Duty. I think that's Corey's background.
That's my game right there.
That's his game. But I'm into racing games, and that's why I'm like, I think I might have an opportunity to feel good about myself.
My gamer tag isn't family friendly. Let's say.
Listen, this show isn't family friendly. I'm not family friendly, and I have a family, so go ahead.
Officer_titties.
See, that's what I wanted a little bit of personality out there, and it just came. Good. Now, what do you consider your attributes, what you brought from Africa, now that you're here in the United States? What do you feel as far as, I consider you an American? What do you consider has rubbed off on you as far as music and culture here? What do you think you've adapted pretty quickly to living here in the United States?
The barbecue food. Georgia's very, very big into the barbecue food here, and I've been loving it. It seems that the southern lifestyle is very similar to things back home. I'm outdoors and in the woods and fishing and riding bikes around, stuff like that. So nothing's really changed for me. I love the people here. I love my neighbors that I've been hanging out with, and it's just besides people talking differently, nothing's really changed.
Well, I'm from New Jersey, so we talk differently. Everywhere in the United States, you hear people with different accents. And go, what the hell? But it doesn't. My little 3-year-old, once in a while, he has like a Massachusetts accent. He sounds like John Kennedy, and I'm like, I don't know where the hell he got that from, because your daddy talks like he's from the slums of New Jersey. But anyway,
watching too many movies.
Way too many gangster flicks. My thought, and again, to get a little political, I've had conversations where people complain about the United States. Oh, it's this, it should be better, this and that. And when I've traveled outside of the United States, I've realized how good I have it to come back to the United States. When I land, coming over from, say for example, China, wow, I am happy and ecstatic to be landing in New Jersey. I never thought I'd say that, but I've said it multiple times. What do you feel are the good attributes of being here in the United States that growing up in Africa and traveling, what really stands out as far as the United States? And, I guess you could say you're proud to be an American. What are the finer points to you that you've noticed?
Well, how people's mindset are, the grass is always green on the other side until you actually get to the other side and realize how good you've really got it. One of the biggest things that I notice here compared to back home is that your tax dollar actually works for you here. That the systems and everything else work here. But the country has been great to me. I plan on living the rest of my life here, and it's just really great to see that things actually work and that they run how they are supposed to.
Now, the other thing is that I've noticed, and I've done a little bit of research, and the past couple of months, everybody's down looking at the news. There's nothing but negativity that's out there. But the one blessing, and then I've done the research, is that the government's trying to help out small businesses and just any business, that's struggling during this with loans and grants and whatnot. And I've realized in the racing community, as a small bit, you can go out and get these loans and help recover and recoup and, be financially somewhat, I guess, fit and able to continue during this time. Do you, talking about your taxes working for you, do you find that there's an abundant amount of opportunity to succeed here in the United States as opposed to any other country?
No, I mean, so sorry, Brian. Could you please say that the last sentence?
Yeah,
one
no,
more time?
well, the one thing is I've noticed, and again, to try to take a positive spin to things have been in the news. Everybody's upset about job losses and this pandemic and everything being shut down. But when you do the research, especially with racing, there's a means to survive as a business, a sense, and keep racing and motorsports going. Through different grants, different loans, and whatnot. Do you find that there's a better opportunity for success here in the United States as a business and just overall, as opposed to being in different countries, again, compared to Africa?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's really great to actually see that the government is helping people out here. I think that back home they don't have the financial resources to actually bail people and companies out. That's one thing that I see that the government is actually trying to do here, and that's really, really positive. I think people always like to complain about things, but if you see how bad they actually are everywhere else, you'd be surprised. And fortunately for me, I'm in a really good position that Westby give me a salary whether we racing or not, and it kind of has been worrying because all of my money does come through racing and earning bonuses and so on. So I'm just really thankful that the Motor America Championship have actually managed to get a full season going. I've got a friend racing in the British Championship, and they don't actually know if they're going to be out racing it this year. So yeah. Just it's really cool to see that the government and the system is actually trying to help people out of these difficult times. Obviously, there are better things that could be done, but it could be a hell of a lot worse off.
Yeah. Now, Corey, do you have anything? Because I was going to segue into something.
Well, yeah, I've got something just real quick. I mean, we're kind of bouncing all over the place.
Take your time, Corey. It doesn't have to be real quick. Take your time.
I've got all day now, boys.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, check your chat, Brian. I've been trying to get in.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I have, before we go too far away from this, we've strayed into the political realm of things, but I wanted to bring it back to the Westby thing. You've been the beneficiary of being the only child over there on the Westby team for a little while. I know, they're bringing Cody in, and they've had a junior bike for a little while. But has there been any discussion within Westby? And I don't know if I'm not trying to break any news or anything like that, but if you talked about a second SuperBike, and if there was, how do you feel about riding with a teammate, or have you even? Because at least as far as I know in the U.S., you haven't had a teammate.
I think that we have spoken about it previously, and not to get too much into it, I know that the Motor America Championship would like us to run a second bike, but one of the things that I'm really happy about is that Westby have said that they will only run a second rider as long as it doesn't take from the first rider. And as things are, I think that they're only able to kind of run a single rider at this time as good as they possibly can. So maybe in the future, with a little bit more financial support, or some other things that could pop up, we might run a second rider. But for now, they're just focusing on making sure that the single rider that they have gets the absolute best, and I cannot be any more thankful for that. At times it is definitely harder being the only rider on the team, because I can't feed off of someone else. We can't bounce setups off of each other. But it definitely helps that all of their focus and their attention goes onto me and the SuperBike that I will be out there on. So a massive thank you to them again.
Yeah. Nope.
See, I want to pry, but I know that's going to be Obviously, big news. If you guys run a second rider, that's going to be interesting because that's I figured you guys are a force to be reckoned with out on the track, and having a second rider that's gonna really step it up a notch. So that's quite interesting that you asked that question, Corey.
Oh, thank you. I try.
I know you're holding on to information. Anyway, so I wanted to segue in again. I don't know if Corey is opposed to this, but Corey and I like to work on things. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they go some places, sometimes they fail, and sometimes they just don't go. Yeah, well, here's the thing: is I don't think have you ever, Matt, got to see what we did as far as the pilots for the documentary that we were working on?
No, I don't believe so. To be honest, my media side of things have been lacking lately, and I've been advised I need to pick it up and focus more on that side of things. But I would love to see it.
Corey and I were quite happy with the outcome and what we've done with this documentary project. It just without going into too much detail, it just fell flat with certain individuals, and I hate to say it, it's just it all comes down to ego. It wasn't money, it wasn't time, So on that note, let me cue it up. I'm not going to play the whole entire thing. I'm just going to play a little bit of it.
I think every single motorcycle racer started riding motorbikes because it was fun. You're not 7 years old riding, worrying about hopefully getting to MotoGP one day. It's more just about having fun and the passion for it. At the end of the day, it's just the pure passion of riding motorcycles. Camaraderie of motorcycle racing, that keeps me going.
There we go. And that's it. We'll end it right there.
That was the best shit I've ever seen.
Right?
That was incredible.
Well, that's what we started off with the best. We wanted to start off hot. We were like so thrilled to get certain content. That's the thing is we thought so too. We shopped it around to different online communities and heavy hitters. At the end of the day, tried to present it to certain powers that be, and nope. So here we are. So it had potential, Corey, and I think it's still something that we like to hold on and show. And that's why I'm like, I don't think Matthew's ever got to see himself with the end product, but
no, and that was to be honest one of the best interview speeches that I've ever done. Usually there's a lot more facial squishing and stuttering and stuff. So that was very awesome to see. Thank you, guys.
Well, that's the thing is that Corey and I feel like, if you're going to do this right and get the right individuals and get them comfortable. You can't just cram content out, and certain things, when you do an interviews at a track, it's very sponsor driven. So the questioning, the answers are very vanilla. We want flavor, and that's the thing is, with your personality throughout the years, we've got to see more personality, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to hear your perspective. And we thought you were a great candidate, and Corey and I, we try to think we're professionals, and I'd say Corey's more professional than I am, but we have a certain tact where we want everybody to be comfortable. We want to get the best side, and if there is a negative outcome, we don't want it to be slanderous. We don't want it to be too negative where it hurts individuals' characters or hurts careers and the people around them. That's the thing is we don't want anything negative. We want a positive solution, and that's what the one thing is that I still to this day feel that Corey and I, following your career and other individuals, will probably be the best representation of doing so. Again, my opinion, but
yeah, Brian, that was awesome. There have been times before where I've done interviews and people kind of take words out of context and kind of fill in blanks with certain things that you didn't say or didn't want to say, and I feel that you guys have always been spot on and done things right and kind of brought the best side out of everyone that you've dealt with.
Well, that's the thing is when it comes to the paddock, I met Corey 2011, 2012. I was on again, off again from 2005, and the people that I met the true people, the sincere people, because not everybody in a paddock is your best friend and your family. You know, there are some people that have
to your face, they might be.
yes, exactly. And then when you got to chase them for a paycheck, 6 months later, yeah. But my point I'm trying to make is there's bonds that are made throughout years, and the people that are genuine and true are still in that paddock, and you want to be treated a certain way. I go about that with everybody that is in that paddock. I want to treat them with respect, integrity, intelligence, a little bit of comedic sense when the timing is right. But that's the thing, is like, everybody's got a story. Everybody's a true individual with a distinction, and that's the one thing is with your camp every year. To me, it's a positive content farm, and I say that is because there's always a moment, there's always something, there's always a personality. I like your crew chief. I love the people that are working on the bikes and the guys that are behind the scenes. I find
brilliant guys,
strong,
brilliant guys.
Yeah, brilliant. Chuck's a great guy. He's got an excellent personality. Danny Anderson, I very
you worked with Corey for a couple of years over at the road race factory.
Yeah. That's it. Corey knows him. There's a lot of true personalities in there, and I feel that, and again, to give us a boost of ego, only Corey and I could do it better.
Well,
we're the best. That's it.
That's it. End of story.
Drop the mic.
Stroking our own.
So by just letting the whole world know you guys are the best, right?
Well, there's
that's the thing, is that we try to give you the best representation out there, to get it out to the masses, because that's the thing, is I think you're an intelligent, well-groomed professional rider, and again, a spokesman, and
like, stuttering as a child was a very difficult thing, and obviously being a pro racer since I was about 15, I've had to do interviews and stuff, and it's been, I've never really spoken about it before. It's something that I try to hold in, but interviews and speaking to the general public for me was a difficult task. When I was a kid, I used to flip and cry because I was just scared of what people thought, and just the ideas that people would have, gotten, and just being different, and just being, something that not everyone deals with. But I feel with you guys, I can just be myself, and sometimes I stutter a little bit more than other times, but I think you guys make people feel comfortable and bring the best out of every person that you deal with.
Well, let me ask you this. Has there been a point where you, and then again, a lot of athletes here in the United States either deflect this question or embrace it, but have you felt that you are a role model, that children look up to you, and you have to have your best representation of yourself every time you leave the garage, every time you leave the trailer, put on the helmet? Do you feel now that a little bit more spotlight's brought on to your attention in your career, that you are a role model?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really plan on being a role model to people, but I've kind of seen that with how far this reach that the Moto America gets, and just dealing with going back home and teaching kids how to ride, and being a part of the junior programs, that the kids actually do look up to us, and I kind of have to change a few things in my personal life, knowing that people follow me, and kids look up to us as professional riders. It's kind of had to make me deal with a few things personally and change them. Like I said, I never planned to be anyone's role model, but you kind of have to take it in and change and be the best person moving forward, and kind of show kids the correct way how to act in certain situations. Unfortunately, sometimes it does hurt looking at past interviews or crashes where I get up and I'm screaming and kicking the bike and throwing my arms around. It makes me cringe and feel really, really bad that there's hundreds of thousands of people watching it, and I'm acting like a 5-year-old child throwing my toys out. But I guess that you learn, and you have to just take your best step moving forward.
Now, I mean, and that's an interesting thing because you mentioned, obviously looking at past interviews, you don't want to come off as a hypocrite, but the one beauty about a hypocrite is that there's always that opportunity to change. You can change,
to better.
But to better yourself. But I mean, has there been a point where you've realized being at the track that kids are looking up to you, that they're looking and seeing and everything and either replicating it? Has that crossed your mind that you're at a certain age that something to be aware of?
Previously no. But then, a couple years back when I started becoming more popular in the Moto America paddock, you start having kids coming up to you, asking you to sign their shirts and stuff. I know that Ed and Dustin both have children, and they both, talk to their dads about Mathew Scholtz riding, so I kind of realized that people are looking up to you, and people are definitely watching what you are doing, and it's made me, look internally and just try to be the best person that I can be, because I think that the social media and TV is a very big part of life now, and people do get influenced by what they see. So I've tried to change and just be a good human, try to always have manners, and just try to make kids realize you don't have to be this big badass guy or be super tough and just be rude. You can be a good-hearted, kind, genuine person and still be a pro motorcycle racer, and just be loving and compassionate towards other human beings.
Because I feel that with this day and age, with social media, everything's, or not everything, but some things could come off not as genuine, not authentic. And some of my best images I've seen from the Westby Instagram account are the fan interaction. You have a really great team in back of you that does support you as far as PR and marketing. And I can't name all the people, but again, you've got a really good presence. And some of my favorite images that I've seen online are just you with the children and kids, whether it's after a race or after qualifying, regardless of the outcome, you got a big smile on your face, and the kids have an even bigger smile. And that's, to me, it's like, that is the most genuine message. Everybody with their Instagram accounts or social media accounts, flashy, images of bikes speeding by, but that's not the way your team approaches things, and that's the thing, is it's very genuine, very sincere, but I like the fact that it's that human interaction, it's that family approach, that it's not about the results or having a cool photo, it's just about being unique. And that's the one thing that I've seen personally, that some of my favorites when it comes to your social media or the team social media platforms is the fan interaction, and seeing the fans with that grin at the end, we're taking that photo. It's, to me, you feel that. You feel that genuine, authentic touch, that you reached out after whatever session you had, and you had that good experience with the fans. Is that something that you have a lot to, does that, what I'm trying to get at, if you're having a bad time on the track or a bad session and you come off and meet with the fans, does that change your personality? Does that give you the positive energy to kind of pick things back up and shrug it off?
Definitely, and I think that Westby understands that fans are a huge part of the sport. You can't go racing with empty stands, and I think that's one of the main things that they've focused on is interacting and making people feel part of the team, because they really are. Without fans, we wouldn't be able to go motorcycle racing. And last year, I think we used to have the Sunday fan walk or Saturday fan walk after the qualifying session. And there were a couple of times where I qualified badly and I did not want to see people's faces. But, the team kind of tell you, hey, it's part of the job, get out there. And once you're actually out there and you see how pumped people are to just, interact and speak and get a shirt signed and speak to their kids and high five them and hand out keychains and Westby stickers and merchandise, it really does pick you up and make you realize that sometimes results are definitely necessary, but it's not the only part of motorcycle racing.
Yeah. So how do you think this first round is going to go? I mean, obviously going with no fans, one of the biggest draws about Road America are the fans. I mean, let's just face it. It's one of the best attended events of the year. The fan base is absolutely crazy and ecstatic. So what do you think it's going to be like this first round where we don't have the fans? There's not going to be that engagement that you just got done describing that is actually so important and so critical to what you do.
I mean, yeah, it's going to definitely be, weird for us, me having a ton of fans, especially at the Road America circuit. But I think at this point, all the crews and riders are just really thankful that we're actually going, racing and get to be on track. To be honest, it's going to be weird walking around the paddock and not having fans there. But when you're actually riding, you don't actually notice that. You are so in your zone, looking at the markers and tipping points. So I don't think it's going to affect us actually racing. It's just going to be different not to have fans, running past you, screaming, and have people supporting you and stuff. So, but again, just really thankful to be back, racing.
I have to ask. Probably the worst question. What is your favorite track here in the United States?
Road America is one of my favorite tracks, but just the results just haven't really been there. But obviously, I like tracks that I do well at. Virginia's nice. Barber's pretty good. Road America. I think that like Virginia and Barber tend to lend themselves more to the South African style tracks. A little bit bumpy, up and down, tighter, narrower tracks. And that's just something that I just love. Racing. Being a taller, bigger guy, straights aren't too kind to me normally. So I like the harder braking zones and the tighter, twistier sections where I can actually really muscle the bike.
Has there been any other series that's kind of caught your attention? I know the latest craze is doing double duty with flat track here in the United States. Has anything, as far as like maybe endurance racing overseas, anything that's kind of extracurricular that's been like, I think I could do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got one or two offers from different series and stuff, but as things stand, my heart and soul is with the Westby team and staying here and giving my 100% to them, as I know that they're giving their 100% to me.
Right. See, that's amazing. That's awesome. And that's the thing is, I admire that the fact that you've been with Westby. Westby's got a good crew, and the fact that it's almost just with any career nowadays. You don't hear anybody staying with a certain company or with a certain team for years. It's always just leapfrogging, and obviously you've built a foundation with Westby and continuing that legacy. It all started with Dane, and here you are, picking up the torch and running with it. So it's really admirable. And again, you've got a really good crew.
The Westby team, I've been riding with them basically in a full season since 2017, and they've really given me everything. 2018 we moved into the SuperBike category, and we were decently competitive, but we weren't there. And then I told them, hey, if we want to be running up front, we need this and that. And they went and got me the magnetic Morelli system, the Suter, the Suter swing arm. And last year was a little bit of a struggle. Then for the 2020 season, now we kind of changed a couple things. So they've always given me what I've asked them for, and what they feel necessary for us to actually win races. So, and it is very, very, very rare that a team listens to their rider and give them what they want. So I'm in a very fortunate position there.
Yeah.
See it?
The only thing I'd have to basically add to any of this is that for me, we're fans first, and then, we work in the series second. We always love the sport. That's why we're in it. And having you in the Westby team, I think, is something that I think the fans really need. And it's something that you've really taken this mantle. It's not a knock on Shez or Josh. They're great guys, and they did their parts very well. But, after losing Dane, it seems like it wasn't until they got you riding that bike full time that things started gelling, that now we really do associate Westby, with Mathew. It's good to see number 11 on that bike. I think it's just one of these fan favorite things, and I speak as a fan on this one, that it's just so great to see you in that, because I think it's just such a great family environment. You fit well, you represent everything that that Trig and Westby stands for. So I just love having you out there, seeing that 11 on that gold and black bike. It's awesome.
No, thank you, Corey. I think that we both found each other in very difficult times. I found them halfway through the 2016 season, and me and my dad were kind of talking about it, like, at that time I was 25, I was still paying to actually race back home, and we were kind of like, hey, is it time to kind of give up on this dream? And we took our final shot moving here to kind of, do those couple rounds at the end of 2016, and Joshua Day had his second huge crash. So I think we were both at our utmost lows, and we kind of picked each other up, and we've been running ever since.
That's great.
See, my thing, and to to kind of jump on Corey's coattails about being a fan first, I have to say that as well. As a fan first, I noticed throughout the years, the bigger corporate, well-funded sponsored teams like the Graves, Yamaha, the Yoshimura, and then you have Westby's team. They're not the underdog, but
the dark horse.
The dark horse, and that's what it was. It was just constantly, always seeing the Westby name up there, and it was like, just give it to him. Yes, and that's what it is. Covering certain things.
Just need that little bit more.
Yeah, just a little bit more. But that's the thing, is you try to stay unbiased and empathic, but at the end of the day, you're just like, oh God, yes, Westby, and that's it, sticking it to him, and I like that, and that's what I hope to see grow this year, because now it seems like the teams are kind of reconfigured a little bit differently in the paddock, and that's where I think this might be the year where you have the advantage, if not the upper hand. So,
for sure, I think that it was, musical chairs at the end of last year. We kind of kept the same the same team moving forward. We've actually changed one or two sponsors and bits on the bike, but I think that this year will be our strongest year by far. We learned a hell of a lot last year, so I think this year it's just time to actually put everything together. So, we're looking forward to it.
Well, I hope so, because I've got money on you. I put my life savings and
I would not put money on me, Brian.
Yeah, no, I've now that gambling's a little bit more lenient and legal, I just figured I'm betting on Westby. I told the wife, I was like, listen,
as long as
we
you
might be out of our home.
As long as you give me some of it, then that's fine.
Whatever you want. If you want a little, that's fine. I get it. You're the talent that's racing on the track. I'll give you what 20%? Is that a modest cut?
I was thinking 50-50, but we'll discuss things later.
I gotta talk to the missus about that, because if I'm gambling the life savings and mortgage payments, she's gonna have to have a say. Listen, you're gonna realize. Listen, you've been in a committed relationship. Now that your fiance status, everything's gonna change. Some good, some bad. Again, that's what life is: ups and downs, peaks and valleys.
But good.
Happy wife, happy life. You know how it goes.
No, not so much. No, I've tried and failed, and again, it's a lot of failure on my part. But sometimes the wife isn't happy, and we just move forward. There's a lot of booze in our house.
Man, I just thanks so much for taking the time today, man. It's absolutely great to see you again. I didn't get a chance to chat with you at Barber, so hopefully we'll catch up at a track this season, man. And it's just been awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Are you going to make it out to 1 or 2 rounds this year? Obviously not the first one coming out, but will you be at them afterwards?
Yeah, for sure. I'll try to make a couple rounds.
Perfect, guys. Look forward to it.
Yes. Yeah. And again, Mathew, thank you again for making the time, and best of luck. What are you currently going to be doing as of like today in the next couple of days? You're going to be traveling out, getting prepped for the Road America round?
The motocross bike's loaded up, and I'm ready to go smash the track.
Excellent.
I just wanted to add, if Trig, if you're watching, Matt needs good technology. Okay, man, he's got it going over to his neighbor's house.
This Android, sitting at my neighbor's house. Yeah.
How much it would it be to invest in a Mac laptop, or like an iPad or an iPhone for that matter?
Just do a GoFundMe.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna definitely break this phone and go to get the iPhone.
But I got to say, as far as backdrop, that is the nicest backdrop I've seen so far for these interviews. It's just very nice.
Apologies, guys, really.
But thank you again for making the time, Matt.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
You got it. And I promise we'll catch you out around soon.
No, perfect, guys.
All right.
Please do, and like I said, I'm always open to doing interviews and whatever you guys need. So you just let me know.
Cool. We'll have you back on here. Trust me. This is fun.
Perfect, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.